as ASEAN is still coming to terms with the failure to issue a joint communique by ASEAN foreign ministers at their Phnom Penh meeting earlier this month. ASEAN TV News spoke to Director of the Institute of Security and International Studies, Dr. Thittinan Phongsutthirak, who gave us his view on this setback and provide an outlook for the Southeast Asian grouping. More in this report.
The failure for ASEAN foreign ministers to issue a joint statement for the first time in the organization's history has sent shockwaves down the corridors of power throughout the region and reflects the reality of global power politics in Southeast Asia.
The lack of a joint communique after the ASEAN ministerial meeting is a serious setback for ASEAN. This is the first time in 45 years that ASEAN does not have some kind of a statement that agrees on something. Even to disagree on something, that would be fine. The lack of a joint statement also reflects the new realities in the region.
Resulting from the various disputes in the South China Sea, Dr. Thittinan says there are several things at play here in the latest conundrum.
Now, China has insisted that it has sovereignty rights over the South China Sea. This has put China at odds with the Philippines in particular, but also Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei to a lesser extent. This was the reason why there was no joint communique. So we have different elements involved here. First, there is growing tension between China and the ASEAN claimants in the South China Sea. Second, China has made inroads into certain ASEAN members more than others. So China is a patron, we can say, of Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and even Thailand to a lesser extent, as opposed to Philippines, which is aligning itself with the United States. Vietnam is hedging, but Vietnam certainly has dispute with China in the South China Sea, even had a war with China over the Paracel Islands in the past.
Within ASEAN itself, the Thai scholar said things could have been different if Cambodia, the Philippines and Vietnam have responded differently to their different stance over the South China Sea issue.
The Cambodians have shown that they are directly beholden to Beijing. The Vietnamese may have been opportunistic, trying to include the EEZ into the joint communique. The Philippines has overplayed its hand. I think the Philippines, Manila overplayed its hand by insisting the specific language of the Scarborough Shoal. I think that it could have been diluted in the interests of the ASEAN whole.
In recent weeks, the Indonesian Foreign Minister Martina Talagawa plays a key role in what he himself calls shuttle diplomacy, as he traveled to many of the region's capitals in trying to salvage ASEAN's face, as well as reaffirming the grouping's unity.
What the Indonesian Foreign Minister did was to conduct private discussions in order to come out with a 6-point statement that saved the face of ASEAN. It became a kind of a face-saving 6-point statement that the Cambodian Foreign Minister announced.
At the end, a sort of consensus was reached as the region's leaders agreed on a 6-point form that could eventually lead to the signing of the Code of Conduct on the South China Sea, a document that will help establish ground rules in the resource-rich waters.
So 10 years ago, they announced an agreement to have a declaration on the conduct of parties in the South China Sea, but this was a tentative agreement. It was supposed to lead to a codified agreement, a specific code of conduct. So this 6-point proposal that saved ASEAN's face in the end is the reaffirmation that for the need of this code of conduct.
In the latest development, China has earlier this week established a new city called Sansha and a military garrison on one of the Paracel Islands. The move is essentially an assertion of China's sovereignty claims over the area also claimed by Vietnam and Taiwan. Beijing's latest move reflects the nature of the dispute over territories and areas in the South China Sea. For ASEAN, the dispute reveals the complex international power play in the region that represent the biggest challenge for the formation of the ASEAN community in years to come.
So ASEAN now has major challenges in its sight. It has a community within the neighborhood. It wants to have an ASEAN community by 2015 on the 3 pillars that we know about. At the same time, it's now split increasingly between China and the United States. And I think that the ASEAN states like it this way up to a point. They like some tension between the United States and China. So now there will be a lot of diplomacy, a lot of bargaining. The United States will try to win over the ASEAN members, and the Chinese also will work very hard to maintain their patronage of certain ASEAN states. This challenge between the US and China is an ASEAN chief challenge.
For now, the South China Sea disputes have made visible the greatest challenge ASEAN faces during the crucial period of community building, and it remains to be seen how the 10 member countries respond to this challenge in months and years to come. I'm Wongcha-um of Thai News Agency, reporting for ASEAN TV.